Alright everyone, welcome to another episode ng Anatomy of a Scam. And for this video, we'll be talking about wedge theory, no? Now, this is going to be part 1 of a 2-part series. Medyo mahaba-haba kasi itong wedge theory nung lineout ko na lahat, no? So for part 1, we'll be discussing kung ano ang wedge, ano ang itsura niya, ano ang falling wedge, rising wedge, and so on, no? And we'll be discussing timelines. And then sa part 2 naman, we'll be discussing how to find targets and so on, as well as laying out examples para lang mas maging maliwanag po sa inyong lahat kung ano ang hinahanap natin when it comes to wedge theory. Alright? So magsimula na po tayo, no? First and foremost, a quick factoid lang. Senior Spyfrat learned about wedges and grids back in the late 90s to mid-2000s through Miss Judy Sawyer. He met her over the internet through MIRC's Dalnet channel. Now, hindi ko po ito sinasabi para manlaglag ng edad o ano. Although I guess inadvertently nagawa ko yun. Pinapakita ko lang po to to showcase how lucky we are right now na the information that we want or require is all within our fingertips lang. Ang dali, di ba? Dati dadaang ka sa butas ng karayom para matuto ng mga bagay na gusto mong matutunan. You had to go through the library, you had to find the right people, and so on, no? Ngayon, mas madali na. The only differentiation is you need to find your information from reputable sources. Maraming nagtuturo, pero marami rin mali yung tinuturo. Okay? So, let's just be thankful na ngayon kaya natin pag-aralan yung mga natutunan ni Senior Spyfrat in such an easy and convenient manner. Now, what is a wedge pattern? A wedge pattern is a commonly found pattern in price charts generally characterized by a narrowing range in price coupled with an upward or a downward trend. Yung narrowing, yung operational word natin dito, yung keyword, kasi maraming patterns na pwedeng gumawa nung pag-angat o pagbaba or pag-consolidate. Whereas yung moving in one direction while narrowing is typically indicative of a wedge. Okay, this will make more sense when we get to our examples in part 2, no? A wedge pattern is formed when investors test a current trend in a stock. The wedge shape occurs when this investor testing makes the current trend line move in a different direction than that defined by the current trend. Okay? So, yung wedge typically nabubuo siya ng nagfo-fall or nagra-rise siya in a specific direction. Okay? Depende kung bullish o bearish yung trend. Alright? Ang pinaka-characteristic niya, as we discussed kanina, is yung gentle na pag-narrow ng price. Hindi yung isang malaking channel lang, hindi yung isang malaking sideways na parang Darvas box. The price narrows, okay? So, dun nabubuo yung particular na pattern. Now, small and gradually narrowing up and down fluctuations in price, if outlined by straight lines along the peaks and valleys of these fluctuations, will form non-parallel lines that don't quite converge, meaning hindi kaagad sila nakikita, thus giving the trend a wedge shape. One other distinction wedge patterns have is that wedges tend to take place over longer periods of time. A triangle pattern, for example, can form in as little as a week. Konting candles lang, pwede mo na kagad masabi na triangle tayo, no? Whether ascending triangle or descending triangle or symmetric, whatever. Whereas wedge patterns, durations are generally measured in longer periods, weeks. Okay? Now, we have discussed fractals. Therefore, alam nyo na rin dapat na ang wedge pattern, fractal din yan. Yes, from a daily chart, it could take weeks, months, whatever, to form a wedge pattern. However, the wedge pattern does apply in any time frame. Meaning, kapag nasa 1-minute time frame kayo, then it might not longer take weeks para mabuo yung wedge pattern, di ba? Nasa 1-minute time frame na nga and so on. So just note that para lang alam nyo moving forward and hindi kayo malilito. Now, ito po ang itsura ng mga wedge. Nakikita nyo, yung rising wedge typically nabubuo siya, okay, in a bear market. So kapag nagda-downtrend tayo, tapos umangat, tapos we start forming narrowing price action na essentially nagtatighten tulad ng nakikita nyo dito sa left side. Okay? Ang expectation natin is eventually susunod siya sa direction ng trend. So tumaas, 'di ba? Downtrend. Nag-bounce, nag-wedge, then eventually susunod siya. Pabaliktad naman yung falling wedge. So we're in an uptrend, nag-up, 'di ba? Tapos nag-bounce pababa, nag-narrow, okay, like so dito sa right side. Then we eventually break out and move towards the direction of the current trend. So I hope clear yun, no? In the next video, I'll make sure to include plenty of examples para lang mas maging malinaw pa ang hinahanap natin sa rising or falling wedge. Now, I realize medyo confusing, no, because of the terminologies. Rising wedges typically are bearish patterns and falling wedges are typically bullish patterns. 'Di ba? Kasi dapat sa utak natin rising pataas nga, 'di ba? Falling pababa. So parang kapag falling, we automatically equate to bearishness and vice versa, no? But in this particular case, in cases of wedge patterns, the rising wedge is the bearish pattern and the falling wedge is the bullish pattern. Okay? So ito yung two basic types of wedges. Next, pag-usapan naman natin yung timelines. So itong timelines, si Senior Spyfrat yung nakadiscover nito. While studying wedge samples, Spyfrat became curious regarding the apex where the two converging lines intersect. It was this incessant inquisitiveness that drove him to create timelines. Timelines are drawn or formed where the two trend lines from the wedge pattern intersect. Now, di ba kanina nag-drawing tayo ng wedge, nagpakita ko na examples. Eventually, if you keep drawing those lines, darating ka sa punto kung saan sila nagtutugma or nagkikita. Diba? Yung puntong yun, ang tinatawag po ni Senior Spyfrat na timeline. In a bearish wedge, timeline equates to a period of low expected to happen until such time a dominant pattern will occur. In a bullish wedge, timeline equates to a period of high expected to happen until such time a dominant pattern will occur. Okay? Should the price exceed the timeline without anything significant occurring, then it serves as a reminder for us to start looking for the next dominant pattern. Remember, the market guarantees nothing. Ilang beses ko na rin to sinabi in previous videos na to ng Anatomy of a Scam. Wala pong pakialam yung market sa atin. Wala siyang pakialam sa mga patterns. Wala siyang pakialam sa mga indicators. The market will do whatever it wants to do, regardless of what we think. Okay? So therefore, tandaan lang, the market guarantees nothing. Now, if this is not making sense to you yet, perhaps the next page will shed some light on it, no? Now, ito ang ibig sabihin natin ng timeline. Kung titignan nyo dito sa left-hand side na picture, ito po yung example ng bearish rising wedge. So, pababa yung overall trend, correct? Nagkaroon tayo ng bounce. Diba? Bounce, tapos nagnanarrow yung price, nagtatighten tayo, nagkokonso. Alright? And then, meron tayong punto, eventually, if we keep drawing those lines, kung saan sila magi-intersect dito. Okay? So, yun yung tinatawag natin na timeline. Kaya timeline, kasi ang expectation po natin, if and when umabot yung price dito sa dulo. Kung umabot man, may mga instances na hindi. Tulad nito, bumaksak na. Diba? Kung umabot man po tayo doon sa dulo, ina-expect natin na yun na yung moment of truth. That price is gonna do one thing or another and possibly continue in the direction of the dominant trend. In this case, pababa. However, kung sakali mang umabot dito sa timeline tas wala pa rin nangyayari, then maaaring nag-iba na yung pattern na hinahanap natin. Perhaps hindi na siya wedge. Perhaps nag-iba na, nag-channel na or whatever. So we need to reassess exactly what's going on and try again. Okay? Dito po natin sinasabi that the market guarantees nothing. On the flip side, dito sa bullish falling wedge, so pataas tayo. Tapos price starts falling down. then forming a wedge, diba? A falling wedge. Now, kung saan nag-i-intersect yung dalawang linya, once again, yun po yung timeline natin. Okay? So the expectation is if and when price comes to that area, then it's the moment of truth. It has to make a choice. Tutuloy na ba ako doon sa direction ng dominant trend, or perhaps, as we discussed kanina, mag-iiba na yung dominant pattern or mag-iiba na yung tinitignan natin doon sa chart na yon. Kasi nga, dapat umabot na tayo doon sa punto na ito na, oras na, di ba? Kumbaga umabot na tayo sa deadline, pero walang naganap. So, maaaring may iba nang nangyayari and we need to reshift our focus in order for everything to make more sense once again. After all, in the market, in technical analysis, we always need to be adjusting sa nangyayari sa market. Hindi po yung market ang mag-a-adjust sa analysis natin. 'Di ba? Tayo yung nag-a-adjust sa market. The timeline just gives us a focus, a focal point on where pwede natin tignan at sabihin na okay, kapag lumagpas tayo sa puntong to, then baka may mali na sa ina-analyze ko, baka may manili na sa tinitignan ko, at kailangan ko nang mag-reassess at baguhin yung bias ko. Alright? So guys, dito po nagtatapos yung first part natin ng Wedge Theory. Please come back next week for part 2. Okay, I realize medyo bitin ng konti, no? Pero nung trinay ko kasi talaga na pagsamahin yung dalawa, medyo naging masyadong mahaba. So it was best to separate it into 2 videos. Okay? So I hope kahit papano may natutunan po kayo dito. 'Di ba? At least ako nung natuto ako about timelines, malaki yung naging epekto sa akin. 'Di ba? Nabigyan ako ng extra focus na wala ako originally. And that's always a good thing, no? And as always guys, maraming salamat po sa panonood. I really appreciate it. Good luck and happy trading!